David here with Beagles on Fire. We're going through this series on types of dogs. I know I hadn't posted anything in this series for the last 2 days. Today's Thursday. On Tuesday, I was busy trying to get the website ready to get some dogs to ready to sell, and they all got scheduled to show or were purchased real fast. God was good in that. And then yesterday, I just got real busy and didn't get a chance to do it. And I may end up not being able to do one tomorrow, because tomorrow just so happens to be my anniversary with my wife, and she may try to take over and be the lead dog tomorrow and try to not allow me to do this. But I'm just kidding. But we were talking about lead dogs last time, and there was a couple things I wanted to make sure that I said about the lead dogs. You know, every time you do one of these videos, I don't have any notes for the most part. I might have a few points if I need to, or a verse if I'm going to use a verse to look at. But other than that, I don't have notes. I'm just trying to do this. I don't want it to be canned and some big presentation. I want it to be from the heart. I think it means more that way. And so I always forget something that I thought I might have could have said a little better or something like that. I'll think of later. But I wanted to make sure that I covered this on the lead dog. You know, the lead dog and the front runner we were talking about. If you are a leader, which all of you are at some point in life, and you say, no, I'm not, David, I'm not a boss at work, you know, my wife runs the show at home, you know, I'm just, well, okay, well, when you go out and run your dogs and it's just you, you're in charge. So at some point, you're the leader. And my only point to that is, when you are the leader, you need to give those following you something to follow. You know, people can follow you, but if you don't give them some reason to follow you, something to follow, some example to set, what's the point in them following you if you're not going anywhere? A leader's going somewhere, and people are following that leader because they're counting on him to take them somewhere. So that's the point that I wanted to make on that. I want to talk about a dog that I had way back when I first started. The first year that I ever had dogs, I purchased a pair of dogs, and their name was Rip and Snowball, male and female, probably two of the ugliest beagles I've ever owned in my life, but they could get the job done. And then I added a third dog, and her name was Julie, and I had a fourth dog named Blue. And that was my 4 dogs first season that I ever got going. All were finished dogs when I bought them. Julie was 2 years old. Now, Julie was a dog that had to have the front. Now, notice I didn't say liked to have the front, enjoyed having the front. She had to have the front. She was definitely a lead dog. She didn't want to look at anybody in front of her. And so Julie was a fantastic lead dog. And I bred her when she was 5, and we had 10 puppies, and she raised 9, and I finished all 9 of those out. And when they were about 18 to 20 months old, their speed was allowing them to overtake their mom, meaning they were getting in front of her. Well, how did she respond to that? Well, she didn't like it at all. She started swinging, which swinging means that when the dogs are running the race like they're supposed to, if you have one that swings, that means they come out from the race and try to run around the side and get in front again, which is a horrible, bad habit. But Julie had to have the front. She was just built that way, and she wasn't going to do anything except have the front. So as she got older and started doing that, she tried to swing 2 times when I was out with them, when I noticed that, and did, and got the lead again, but then was overtaken again. So what did she do? She said, forget y'all. I'm not gonna, if I can't be the leader, I'm not playing ball with y'all. So she went off and found her own rabbit, jumped it, and run it solo. And you know, that is the problem with some people that are leaders. You have to also know how to follow and when to follow, and when you have to be a part of the team. You can't just ask people, I'm going to lead you, but I don't want any suggestions from anybody, and if anybody else is in charge, then I'm going to get mad and I'm going to take my ball and go home. A lot of people like that in life, unfortunately. So that was the knock on Julie, is once I saw that she was not going to cooperate unless she was in the front, which was older in life, then what I did is I said, okay, there's a place for her, and I made her a puppy trainer at that point where she could always be in the front, and she trained hundreds of puppies for me and did a fantastic job at it. So I did have a place to put her in a job for her. But I want to talk about when she was in her prime, which leads me to the next dog that we're going to talk about. She not only was a lead dog and a front runner dog, but her specialty, she could jump. We'll talk about jump dogs and all that later. She could do all that, but where she really shined was in the check area. She was a great check dog, and today what we're going to talk about is the check dog. So for me to talk about a check dog, I have to first explain what a check is. I know most of y'all know that, but I've had guys that have had beagles, and I say something like, this dog is really good at getting the check, and they're like, what do you mean? So I want to make sure I'm real clear on that, what we call a check. So it's not a dog that goes out here and can collect checks from people. I wish that was true, because that'd be great. We'd all want a check dog if you'd go collect checks, but they'd probably bounce in most, if your luck's like mine. But anyhow, that's a different subject. I was just being facetious. But a dog that does real well in the check area. What is a check? Okay, a check is when the dogs are running. They've got a race going. It doesn't matter how long they've been running it. And all of a sudden there's a breakdown, meaning that, okay, they've lost the track. No dogs are barking. They've totally lost the track. Now that could be for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 minutes. There's really no certain time limit on it. But you can have a short check, you can have a long check. But Julie really shined in the check area. And what she would do was she would come up, and a lot of dogs get hung up in the check area, meaning that if you saw where the rabbit made a turn at in a lane or something, and they come out there and they're sniffing around, they know they had it right here behind them, and they've gone forward and they're sniffing around. They stay in one area kind of trying to figure it out. Well, they get hung up in that check area sometimes. And some guys, they don't like the way Julie would do it. But what Julie would do is come and check that area real quick. And then Julie would do like you would do if you're tracking deer, guys that deer hunt. If you're tracking a wounded deer or a deer that you know you've hit, you've got blood on the ground. And what you're doing is you're going along, okay, got blood, got blood. If you lose the blood and you're by yourself or with someone, what you typically do is you mark the last place you had the blood and you start circling, trying to figure out where the deer went, pick the blood up again. And a dog that can really get quick checks, now some guys don't like it. They say, well, you got to check from the inside out. They need to work it from the inside right here and then work out. Well, Julie did that, but what she did is she did it real quick. She would come up, sniff the area right there where they lost it, and then she'd start making circles. And she'd get it going like 20 yards away sometimes, wherever. But she would get, at that time when I had her, in her prime, she would probably get 95 to 98% of all the checks that we had. And, how this relates to life is like this. There's people that are trying to follow the right thing. They've got the track, they've got the scent of what they need to do that's right, and they're following it. But then they get off track. You've heard that term. We just got off track. Well, if they don't ever get back on track, if they don't have either a check dog in their pack, you could say that's your friends that help you, whoever you look to for leadership and help in life. If somebody doesn't get that check and everybody's just wandering around, and at that point they're not following the scent of what they need to do. If you don't get the race going again and get the check, then you have to go find a whole new rabbit to run. And sometimes that happens. But a good check dog is very valuable because they can come up there when things break down, they know how to get it going again. Sometimes your check dog may not be the greatest jump dog or hunting dog, but it may really shine when it counts to check. And there's a lot of people in life that are real good at getting us back on track. You may not look at your mother, for example. You may not look at your older mother as being someone that is now your leader all the time. But one thing about your mother, if your mother's anything like mine, I'm out here in life and I'm a grown man. I'm 56 years old and, I'm going down the road of life. It's not that I know everything, but I'm going down the road of life. But my mother, who's in her 70s, has a way of coming to me and she can still say, David, have you thought about such and such? And I had gotten off track. And she will put me back on track real quick with just saying a few words. So we can help people get back on track without having to harp at them, scream at them. If we've got their respect, they'll follow. One thing about a good check dog is this: when they open up, the other dog's going to pour to them and take off because they found it again. And if you're out here and you're one that finds your way back on track, so to speak, in life, there's going to be people that are now they're going to want to follow you again. And y'all, one of them may overtake you and become the lead dog again or whatever. But the fact is, you got the track going again. So whatever it is in life that you don't have the track going like it once was, if you've got off track in life, you need to find that scent and go again. And maybe it may be somebody else that's on track and you know that they're on track. Well, go with them and run the race you need to run. You know, I've heard about the check area, and there's another thing that we can draw from this. And there's actually a Facebook page called the Check Area. Jimmy Abshire runs that page and has a weekly show on there where he interviews people. It's mostly for field trial and stuff, but it's a really unique name that they came up with called the Check Area. I love the name of that, and I think it's great that they do that. But they interview different people, and they get to talk and fellowship and stuff about the trial world, beagles and trials and stuff like that. So there's a little free advertisement for him. And I don't know Jimmy personally, but I have seen his show. But the other area I want to talk about that has to do with life with this check area is life is full of check areas for us. That could be a lot of different things. When that rabbit gets out there and they lose it, a lot of times what that means is the scenting condition in that particular spot got rough. Now it could be in an open lane, out there in the open where the scent leaves quick, or the rabbit, maybe he laid down something a little tougher than what they were used to. Maybe the wind was picking up, maybe whatever the reasoning is. I'll never be able to explain how dogs can be running back here and the rabbit just runs straight across a 10 or 15 foot wide bush hog lane, and they struggle out there, and then go on up in there and pick it up sometimes 20 or 30 yards, and it wasn't anything difficult as far as what you see. And other days they can just go and take it. But that's like us. It's not always something that's obvious that throws us off track. And sometimes it is things that are obvious. Sometimes the check area is a tough part of life. Because when you're off track and you're not running anything, you feel kind of lost, like, I don't know which way to go. A dog that's out there looking for the rabbit, it's like, I don't know where he went, I don't know which way to go. You may find yourself in life with all the craziness going on in the world right now with, I really don't know which way to go. My challenge to you is to seek good counsel, and a lot of you were raised right, and you really know what you should be doing, but we get off track. A lot of times it's not that we don't know what we need to do, it's just that we got to make ourselves do what we need to do. But we, kind of like the dogs, a good rabbit dog, they don't mind anything, a stick, they just bust right through it all. Good rabbit dog. But you'll see some rabbit dogs every now and then, it's like, well, that's a little thick right there, let me ease on around that. And that's us as humans. We don't want to go through things that are going to put scratches on us and all that. But life is full of things that are going to give us bruises and scratches and different things in life. But the main thing is you got to stay back on track. You got to get back on that check and get running right again. Some of the other dogs we're going to talk about, just so you'll know that's left in this series, is we've got track dogs, we've got jump dogs, we've got Me Too dogs, or pack dogs. We've got walkie-talkie dogs. We've got loose mouth, tight mouth. Those are just some I can think of off the top of my head, just to give you an idea of what's coming up with some of these different ones. And I also would like to say this. If any of you can come up with a name of what to call whatever it is we're doing here, I don't want to call it a devotional. I want to have something that's related to dogs. It's not that I'm ashamed of being a Christian. That's not it at all. I just want to keep it related to dogs and related to rabbit hunting. And I'd love to come up with something that would really be something that would draw people in to watch these. Not because of me, but because I feel there's a need for this kind of thing in the world, for us to keep us all on track. I get off track just like what I talk about here. All the things I've talked about on here are things that I personally deal with and face as well. So if you've got some cool name, feel free to throw it at me, and we'll come up with something. I'm not rushing it. I'm just trying to come up with something that'll work. So that's something I just wanted to throw out there as well. But I appreciate y'all watching these. Feel free to share them. The more they're shared, the more people will get to hear it to help them. It has nothing to do with my ego or anything like that. It has strictly to do with, I want to do these to benefit others. And if we can help someone, just someone, get back on track with doing the right thing, if just someone gets their marriage back on track. There's so many things we talk about back on track. Maybe you haven't had the best of relationships with someone. You get that back on track. Maybe your relationship with your wife's not where it needs to be. You get that back on track. Maybe it's your kids. Maybe it's life in general, and you feel like, hey, I need to get my relationship with God back on track and start doing some things. Maybe some people have done some things to you. I get it. Listen, trust me, I get fed up with the politics of organized church and religion. You got a whole lot of people that want to be the lead dog, but they're not giving you the right track to follow all the time. I get that. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but I've been there, done that, and it is a turnoff. But we cannot keep our eyes on man. We have to keep our eyes on our Heavenly Father. And so that's my challenge for you today. Get the track going back in your life. Get back on track in life. Help someone else get back on track with life. Be a good check dog. Y'all have a good one.